You're listening to KCYP 97.7 The City. This is Scarlett Rose, and you're now listening to RGV Rocks. This is KCYP 97.7 FMLP The City. This is Scarlett Rose along with my co-host,
Rockin' Rudy.
And welcome to RGV Rocks. KCYP 97.7 FMLP The City is a nonprofit organization that promotes local artists such as myself and is the home of indie music. We are now accepting donations to our website, www.thecity977.com, and as well as sponsorships to keep this radio station thriving. For more information on paying donations, sponsorships, or business advertisement, feel free to contact Joe Martinez at 956-789-0702 or by email at martinezjoe@hotmail.com. I will be leaving the links to the donation below. Description, not donation, but you can donate to the city if you want to. So without further ado, to the people that don't know who we are or what we do, RGV Rocks is a radio show and now an online podcast dedicated to local talent events and all the wonderful people in the RGV, such as you and I. Rudy, do you want to give a very special welcome to our very special guest for today?
I sure do. One of my longtime friends as well, in the radio biz as well. We worked together, we played together, we drank together, we hanged out together. Wait a minute, we did too many things together. It's a miracle we're not married. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, one of the legends of the RGV, the one and only Johnny O.
Thank you. A legend? A la Mo. I've never been called a legend before. Now I feel like, hey, I need to wear my suit and my tie.
There you go. Not today, it's a Sunday. It was a funny fun day. That's what it is.
Congratulations on the podcast, guys.
RGV.
Thank you. Hey, congratulations to you too. Most wanted.
Yes.
Man. You guys are going everywhere. You're everywhere. You're into everything. Un como se dice, des, you know what I'm saying.
I actually, I'm excited. I had heard about the podcast, guys, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk to some of your listeners and the folks that actually watch you. And congratulations on you guys as well, because Scarlett, are you and Rudy related somehow?
Oh, no. Oh, yes, in a sense, because that he knows my mom and he's known my brother way before, since he was a kid. So
you guys, you guys got great chemistry, man. So I figured, okay, you guys have been either grown up together or something, but he's a little older than you are, or I should say a lot older than you are. So I figured that can't be the case. But no, you guys are sounding great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. Yes, the Valley's Most Wanted. That's the app. That's the party app, what we call. It's a kind of like a podcast, but it's an actual radio station that is streaming. It's exclusively streaming on our own platform. As you know, been doing radio, like Rockin' Rudy said, for, gosh, I don't want to date myself, but it's been over 30 years already. And which 20 of those has been probably here in the Valley, because I started back in 1999, carnal, ahí en Que Pasa, 99.5. That's the station I was working at when I met Rockin' Rudy. You were at the Q. And so, yeah, and ever since then, we've been good friends. And yeah, we drank some, we smoked some, we partied plenty. And better look at us now, carnal. Gosh, time flies. Before you know it, I'm telling you, Scarlett, time flies, you have to take advantage of every single day, because like they say, tomorrow is never promised. But gracias a Dios, we've been doing real good. I lost my job at Wild 104 back a year ago in June of 2021. It was still part of the budget cuts, the layoffs. COVID, as you know, killed a lot of people, killed a lot of work. I mean, it just really threw a wrench in everybody's life back in 2019. Thank God I was able to dodge those budget cut bullets for, gosh, a good 10 years, till finally got hit in June of 2021. Y gracias a Dios que I had already started this platform. I started with JohnnyORadio.com back in when the internet was popping off and you could build your own website, man. So I've had that website for a long time, and then started learning and implementing and going along as, times change, to be able to add audio to your website and be able to stream and do so many things. And finally, added a couple of more stations. It wasn't until I want to say 20, pues no, in 2021, yeah, it was right after I got laid off. I had to, because of the contracts and stuff, I had to wait a little bit, a 90-day non-compete. So I waited until that was over before we finally got back on. And Frankie G, you remember Frankie G rocking
Yes,
Rudy?
sir.
Frankie G had been with me for a long time, and we started the project, the platform, and we launched it with the Mojo Morning Show on Halloween. Halloween of 2021, and we're going up on 1 year coming up this October. So we're excited. Gracias a Dios has been doing well. We're having fun. Bonnie Hernandez, you remember Bonnie? She also was with us in the morning, brought her along. Tejano Bob is with us as well. I've got Lorena Macarena. I've got DJ Gucci Mix. A lot of the guys that used to be with us, man, are all with us. I don't know if you remember Adam El Cieguito.
Oh, yeah.
He acted for us as well. His long dream of being in radio was able to finally come true when we put him on overnights, and he's helping us out in the overnight. So it's Valley's Most Wanted. When you guys get a chance, check it out. We actually are on 24/7, 365. You can either listen to us online at www.valleysmostwanted.com, or you can download the app from your app store or Google Play, whichever phone you have, and check us out when you guys get a chance.
Definitely, most definitely. I have been following you, actually. Been listening to you guys' show and everything. That's why I said it's totally different to your show. But I was truly amazed when I saw you and Frankie G come out with Rock and Roll James on PVT. And that was just like one of the most, like I said to myself, I remember those days. I mean, I remember the days when all three of us, you, me, and Rock and Roll James would hang out. No, hombre, shut up. It was just too much fun and everything. And listen to us. We're just babbling off here and there, and then all this fun, excitement, good times. And I just can't wait to get all three of you together, you, Monty, and Frankie G, get the crew together, maybe on our next round, and we can do the Valley's Most Wanted show on our show. That would be great.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the guys are, in fact, Bonnie's on the air right now. She's working, pero we actually are available anytime, man, because of the beauty of the internet. Again, when COVID struck, it threw everybody a curveball because we couldn't be in the same studio. We had to clean surfaces and wipe down everything. And so it threw us a big curveball, but it actually made us realize that, hey, this is a new era and we have to adapt. You have to, as a life throws you different curveballs. And if you don't adapt and try to continue, then you'll be left behind like the dinosaurs. So gracias a Dios, we're able to adapt. And we encompass the fact that we can actually use the internet to our advantage. We connect on Bonnie connects from San Antonio. Frankie G connects from San Antonio as well through the internet. And we communicate, and that's the way it's done. I mean, I'm here in the studio, and we all connect via the internet, and we broadcast. And so that's been one of the great things. Rock and Roll James también. He's still on the air there at the Q. But he actually also has, reinvented himself with this TV show, the YouTube channel, the PVT. And gracias a Dios, he's doing real good as well. So, yeah, we had a lot of fun when we went to go hang out with him. And I can't wait to bring the whole crew. I just got to remind them that this is actually not just a podcast. You guys, I think, are broadcasting as well on the radio. So that's one of the reasons why we have to, behave ourselves, because being on the platform like the one we have, we can go ahead and say all kinds of, be ourselves and let yourself loose, because we are not regulated. But when you're talking about FM dial, there is a lot of rules that we have.
We have that, 97.7 FM The City. So this is broadcast through them and stuff like that. This is just a segment that we created to see about the Valley talents such as yourself. And I, like you said, 30 years in the business, 20 of it down here in the RGV. From what I understood, in Corpus was the stomping grounds, right, for you?
Actually, no, my first job was in Lubbock.
Good to know the dark secrets. All right.
I actually see, reason being because I'm born in Laredo. I was from Laredo, and that's where I was born. Mercy Hospital. Shout out to everybody. El Santo Niño, El Santo Baby. Sure enough, I got the bug for radio back then. It was a party that my sister was throwing. My mom and dad were away, and so of course, when the mouse is away or when the cat's away, the mice will play. So my sister threw a party, and she hired a DJ. And at that time, gosh, I want to say I was about 11, 10, 11, 12. I can't remember. But I saw a guy playing music and had all the girls around him. And then at the end of the night, he got paid. I said, well, hell, that's the kind of job I want, man. So I started trying to DJ at weddings and roller skating rinks, wherever they would let me DJ is where I would go. It wasn't until we moved to Lubbock, and I got tired. I used to work in the fields, el asadón, el algodón, la sandía. And I said, you know what, man? I give props to everybody who works in those labores, because from sun up to sundown, you're bent over in the hot sun, picking up sandias or cutting the weeds and stuff. I can't handle this. I did it for most of my young kid years. And I said, I'll be damned if I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. So I started looking for a job, and the first place I went was to radio stations, and got my luck. I was that DJ, that kid who would go and be knocking on doors. This is way before internet, way before computers. You had to go in person and drop off a tape. And le puse gorro. I think I got on his nerves, and he said, okay, if I hire you, will you promise that you won't become mess with me no more? So I was like, yes, I'm in. And that was my first gig, actually, in Lubbock. I worked a few radio stations in Lubbock. I moved to San Antonio. Did radio in San Antonio, did radio in Houston. Moved to Corpus. Where else? Gosh almighty, El Valle. And this is where I've been. Yeah, I mean, I've been a radio gypsy most of my life. This is where I landed, and I loved it. And there's nothing like El Mágico Valle. Love the valley.
Miss Scarlett Rose, you want to go ahead and kick off that special question we
ask
everybody?
That special question I always ask our interviewees, and that is, what do you like about the RGV and why?
Oh my gosh, everything. I mean, there's too many things to mention. First of all, la raza, the people. I mean, I feel like I'm at home in Laredo. You know, you can go to the Walmart, you can go to HEB, and you can speak your first language. Because honestly, I didn't learn English till I was in, I think, 7th or 8th grade. So all my years in elementary, it was puro español, you know, because it's Laredo. And so even in English is where the class in English, where we would learn English. But you can go anywhere in Laredo. Here in El Valle también, you can go to the corner store, you can go to the meat market, you can go anywhere and speak your native language, which is Spanish, and everybody speaks it. When we moved to Lubbock, holy cow, it was a totally different onda, because yeah, you can't be speaking Spanish. Again, this is many, many years ago, because not many people spoke Spanish in Lubbock. It was a very predominantly white area, but it was a rude awakening. But that's one of the things that I love about the valley. You feel at home. You got a lot of raza, the people, the vibe, the music, and as you know, the food. I mean, you guys were waiting for me to finish my food this morning because I had to have my breakfast. And my gosh, the food here in El Valle, everywhere you go, there's some great food, man. Pura comida mexicana, and it just makes you feel at home. So, I mean, I could go on and on, but definitely the people, the food, la cultura, the fact that we can just cross the bridge, you know, and go to Mexico. You're in a totally different country, and it's just a great place to be. And the economy here, I mean, everything is so cheap here compared to, you know, cost of living in other cities, California, New York, even in San Antonio and Dallas. It's a lot more expensive, man. And so, no, it's just a hidden gem. Beautiful place. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. I love it.
Speaking about tacos, actually a little instances that actually a little instance that happened to me a couple of days ago was that compared with the prices that you're saying that the Valley is way cheaper, I was getting a breakfast taco before class, and my God, I had to pay 3 something for just one breakfast taco. Can you
Oh,
believe
Jesus.
that?
Are you in New York or San Francisco?
No, that's the thing. I'm in San Marcos and I can't even get like a breakfast taco for like $1 something anymore. It's crazy.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I was the worst place that I can complain about was in San Francisco once. We went on vacation and we're looking for a parking spot, and we found a spot, and sure enough, just to park, they were charging us $90. And I was like, wait a minute.
90.
I'm just gonna park my car. Yeah, this parking lot is $90 because it was right across the street from Pier 17, which is an area where it's very, I think it's Pier 17, Pier 13, one of those. But it's a visitor area. It's for tourists, very touristy. And so I was like, $90, no, thank you. Drove down a little bit, about 2 blocks, and I saw the price, and it said $70. Drove a little bit further down, and I saw the price, and so in other words, I finally settled for $50, but it was about 7 or 8 blocks away, and I was like, I miss El Valle. I mean, El Valle, you hardly, if they charge you $10 to park, we're gonna park in that field over there, and we're gonna walk. But yeah, man. I mean, everything else is expensive, and I'm not surprised. San Marcos is right by San Antonio, and yeah, I mean, it's very touristy and a lot more expensive.
And it was just for like a regular potato and egg taco. So like imagine the other stuff. Like, oh my gosh.
That's why I go to HEB and I buy my own ingredients and make my own tacos at home. So like make my way, and I can eat as many as I want and less than $5.
I did earlier, make my own breakfast here.
So Johnny, let me ask you something. How was it when you were working with Wild 104? Because I know you took over Wild 104 when it switched, right, from B104 to Wild.
Yeah. At that point, fíjate, I was like you said, I was working in Corpus, because when I was working at Que Pasa back in '99, I was hired by a station in Corpus to consult them, and the owner of Que Pasa at that time, who also owned the TV station, found out that I was consulting a station in Corpus, and he wasn't too happy with it. So he told me, he's like, you're gonna have to make a choice, either work with them in Corpus or you're going to work here. And so I was like, well, back then I was, getting, very minimal money to work or to consult. And so it wasn't, putting bread on the table like my full-time job here at Que Pasa was. So I had to resign. And when I told the owner that in Corpus, he's like, well, what's it going to take to bring you to Corpus and do it full-time? And so I shot him a number, and he accepted. And I was like, damn it, I should have asked for more. So I took the job. And then when I was in Corpus, sure enough, Danny Fletcher, you remember Danny, who was the GM at Que Pasa, but then he jumped boat and jumped over to B104. Well, it was the same company that owned both stations, B104 here in the Valley and KSAB in Corpus. And we were beating all their stations in Corpus. So he called me, and because I already had worked with him. And he's like, hey, man, I need you to jump ship there and go work for KSCB, the Spanish station in Corpus. And because of my contract, I couldn't. So he says, well, let's bring you down to the Valley. And so I took that job. When I came down to the Valley, B104 at that time had been really hurt from the Beat, 96.1. The Beat came in and just took over the Valley, and it was kicking butt. So sure enough, we decided to make a change, and B104 was a great station and had been around for many, many years. And to see that a hip hop station out of nowhere came in and cut their audience more than half, I figured we were going to have a very tough job. So I told the bosses and everybody, I said, look, man, we can keep it the way it is, but it's not going to work, or we can blow it up and build a new station. And so we agreed. We changed the format. We changed the name. And back in 2004, is when we started Wild 104. We flipped from which was a top 40 station to a hip hop station. But at that time, reggaeton was starting to make a little bit of noise. And that's what kind of separated us from the beat, that we were a Spanish minded radio station playing English and some Spanish, some reggaeton. And gracias a Dios, by the grace of God, it worked, and did it there for, gosh, I was there for almost 18 years. And it was a great journey. But unfortunately, like everything, it came to an end last year, as I mentioned earlier. But yeah, it was a fun time. It's a great company. And, things happened, during that time. Again, it was COVID and everybody was cutting back. So they made some cuts and finally got to me. But no, it was sad to see, because we cleaned house. We totally, completely changed the format and cleaned house. Hitman went from, I don't know if you remember, the Hitman, ¿cómo se llama? Jeff the Hitman. He actually was there. Billy Santiago was there. Tony Furina was there. I forgot all the people, and it was sad to see them leave, but we had to make a change. But that was back in 2004, the good old days. And but now it continues as Wild.
Your story was amazing. I know what you mean. From the B104 to Wild 104, it was a tremendous big change. I remember I did get to work for the Beat for like about a good 4 months before they did budget cuts themselves too. Wow. I was with KIWW, and KIWW jumped from Tejano to the Beat, and up there on Chase Tower on 10th Street and all that good stuff. Bobby Macias, myself, Ray Pedraza. Oh man, it was just fun times. But like I said, for about 4 months, I got to ride that boat, and then that boat ended for me because they did more budget cuts, like you said. Always budget cuts with the radio stations, all the time, which is good to see that, podcasts came out big time, and now in podcasts is the only budget cut is yourself, and we love, oops, my phone fell, and we love what we do, and we keep doing it, and it's a passion, you know what I mean? And Johnny O, you've been in the business forever and ever and ever, just like me, and we're still doing it and going strong, and we looking good like always, I mean, like I was gonna tell you, Johnny O, I'm watching you right now on the thing and everything, and you still look the same, brother. You look the same as way back then in 1999 when you came to get Pasa and everything.
That's all you want. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And I'm actually trying to lose some weight, man, because como te digo, the food and the tacos are so good here in El Valle que, híjole, I've gained so much weight ever since COVID. And I keep blaming everything on COVID. So yeah, my gain weight, COVID, okay? But no, man, it's tough when you have such delicious food to try. And maybe I should get out more and maybe be a little more active, and that would help me lose the weight. But working, it's just keeping me busy, man. With the radio station that I'm working with now, it keeps me busy all the time. But I appreciate that, man. I really do. And I know that you guys actually, you being so young, Scarlett, can I get your age? You look like
you're... yes, I'm 20 right now, but I'm gonna turn 21 in October. So okay. Wow. Anytime.
and you're taking this in school to be a broadcaster as well?
Yes, especially because what's it called? I was in, I would say, mass comm for about 2 years, and then I switched to digital media innovation, which is kind of like a fancy way of saying like all the tech that you do in like radio, film, TV. So it's more specific, and that way I can get like a better understanding of what I want to do.
Wow. Well, yeah. Good. And how much longer before you graduate?
I would say it's this year, and then next year I graduate. So 2024. Oh. So I'm excited.
Qué bueno, man. Qué bueno. God bless you and good luck. It is a tough business, but there is, some good money. And as long as you stay, active, and as long as you get into everything that you can and keep that beautiful attitude, you're going to be, successful at anything you do.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That's such a compliment, because I like Rudy was saying that you are a legend to Valley talent, especially because not only that, I'm going to bring this up really quick, because did you know that Inside Radio did a little article on why you left the Wild 104, and it freaked me out because like you've had such a great influence all throughout Texas, like you were saying, like even in Lubbock, San Antonio, and then back to the Valley. What inspired you to even create the Valley's Most Wanted? Was that also because of like when you left Wild 104, or did you just have a vision way before that?
As a matter of fact, I started the first one, the first station. Well, like I said earlier, the website. It's something that when radio was, you know, the lonesome dove, internet came around and web pages came around, and it was something that we had to encompass and use as a tool to be able to help radio, and it certainly did. And so what I started doing is reading and learning and trying to teach myself. Unfortunately, I never got a chance to go to college, but I was still, because of the internet, able to read up and learn a bunch of stuff about radio and communications, because that's what my field was in. I wanted to learn. But I knew that, you know, sooner or later I was going to get much older, and in business you have to be very young, you have to be very active, and you have to adapt. And so I figured, okay, one of these days, God forbid. And here's the actual story that made me change that, because back in 07 or 08, when we had that crash, the housing market crash, I had a friend who was working for the same company, iHeart, that at that time, I think it was Clear Channel. He had just gotten a job from Houston to California, moved his entire family, and started working. And I was so proud of him. I was like, dude, that's the place. Because in radio, you look towards working in bigger markets in New York, LA, San Francisco, DC, you know, bigger markets, because you want to make bigger money. And so when he got the job in LA, I was so happy for him. To find out that 3 months later, we had that housing market crash and everybody was affected. So again, stations started cutting back. Sure enough, they cut him out. He had just moved his family. He had just bought a house, and he called me and he told me, and I was like, gosh, dude, you know, he's like, I got a little bit of severance. He's like, but it's only going to last me for 3 months. I don't know if anybody else is hiring. He goes, everybody else is also cutting back, so it's going to be tough. And I said, well, I'll that ever happens to me. So I said, at that point was when streaming hadn't even started, but it was just starting to get some motion. And I said, I got to learn that, because one of these days, God forbid that happens to me, I'll be ready. Good thing was that I was working for iHeart at the time. And so I was able to join the meetings when we were talking about, hey, we got something big planned, and it's called iHeart Radio. And we're going to be broadcasting all our stations on the computer. And soon enough, we'll be on phones. And believe it or not, phones, you'll be able to see people on the phone. You'll be able to not only talk to them, but you can talk to them without even talking. You're going to do this. And I was like, oh gosh, I got to learn this. I would get myself into those meetings to learn. So it was kind of like a university for me, learning, but also getting paid at the time. And when I was learning that, I started using that information to my advantage and using it here at home. And that's when I started working on my little studio here. And so I started adding everything that I would learn on the radio. I would adapt it and use it for my station. At that time, I only had one, which was Johnny O Radio. Then a few years later, I added 2. And then a few years later, I added 2 more. In total, I have 5 radio stations. But I was only running music on them because I wanted to make sure that I kept them going for whenever something would happen in case I got fired or let go. I would be like jumping on one moving vehicle to another. And that's exactly what happened. I had a vision to where I knew what I wanted to do, but the backside, the rear view of that vision was like, in case I get fired, I've got this ready to go. And sure enough, gracias a Dios, that it happened the way it did and planned out perfectly, because I got laid off. 3 months later, we jumped on Valley's Most Wanted, and here we are a year later, still doing it.
Especially because I know that I have a lot of friends that are also fans of your show, especially with Valley's Most Wanted, and as well as they've listened to you since Wild 104. So the fact that you're still doing radio now, even until like you got laid off, and even all that stuff, I feel that that is a big accomplishment that you have going for you.
Thank you. And hopefully one of these days we get to work together. Because again, I've got 5 stations. So next year when you're about to leave college, make sure you call me and let me know if you are looking for a job, girl.
Yes. Rudy's lagging a little bit. Do you want to have any special shout outs before we leave?
Special shout out to everybody who's always, like you said, thank you. I didn't know that you would listen to our show. Thank you to everybody who listens to our show. I appreciate it. If you haven't checked us out, when you get a chance, check it out. We also have a podcast on our show on the app. You just scroll down to the podcast and you can listen to all the shows that we've done. Or you can listen to us daily live from 5 till 11 a.m. And yeah, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, and good luck to you, Ma.
Thank you so much. Rudy, do you have any special shout outs you want to give before we leave?
I want to give a big old special shout out to everybody over there at Valley's Most Wanted. Johnny O, thank you so very much for coming out on the show and agreeing to do this with us. We really appreciate you. It is truly an honor to have you on our show. And of course, listening to the little stories here and there that you were saying. Big old shout out to my co-host right here, Scarlett Rose. Big old shout out to my 2 daughters, Joanna and Darlene, and my grandson, Carson. Love you guys, of course.
Without further ado, thank you so much, Johnny O, for joining us here today. If you guys like to check us out or learn more about what we do on our show, make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook and Instagram is just RGV Rocks, and Twitter is Rocks RGV. Once again, Facebook and Instagram is just RGV Rocks, and Twitter is Rocks RGV. We also have a Patreon, and like we do at the end of every show, we usually give out very special shout outs to whoever we want to give them out to. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, we usually give out a shout out to you, especially because you're giving in a donation to us. And part of that donation goes to the City 97.7. So if you guys are interested in doing a special shout out or just subscribing to our Patreon for exclusive perks, be sure to join us on patreon.com/RGV Rocks. Please join us. I especially want to remind everyone, thank you for listening to our humble little show, and we'll be here next time on KCYP 97.7 FMLP, The City. See ya!
Bye-bye.